Hi everyone, in today's video what I wanted to do was to dive a bit deeper into a part of the code in the GRPO formula that was in DeepSeek R1 paper. So like very deep. It's about the KL divergence and its implementation, like how DeepSeek actually decided to do this implementation. I usually don't go that deep in the research paper to like this level, but I find that this is a good representation of some aspect of machine learning and deep learning that are not obvious, especially for beginner, which is that a lot of the things are the way they are because there was some decision that was made that is not necessarily like deterministic. There had many options of implementing KL divergence in this case, but they choose one particular one, which come from a blog post that we're gonna see in details. And in that blog post, there was 3 different versions that you could use. So we'll dive into it, and I'll link everything down below. Okay, so here we are. I've done a few videos on this already, so I'm not gonna recap the whole thing. The part that is interesting for us in this whole thing is this little part with the KL divergence. In PPO, it was implemented in a certain way, and it's more around the reward function. And then in GRPO, it's implemented in another way. Already there's some design decision that was made. Why didn't they jam it into the reward function? Maybe it was easier to code because here you have many reward and you have to take like the average and stuff. It would be easier if it was out of this mess versus here it can directly be added to like the single reward that is being outputted. If we take a look at like what does the KL divergence look like on the PPO side, you have this term over here. So it's in the reward variable, and then you have this hyperparameter beta that control how much of this you have to account for. So we have log of some probability over here divided by another set of probability. This is a reference model, and then this is the current model that we're optimizing. So on the GRPO side, what we have is like the reference model probabilities divided by the current model minus the log of the reference divided by the current model. So there's a few things that are different in this case. The ref and then the current model are like switch over here compared to that part, and the form doesn't really look like the form that we're accustomed to for KL divergence. Before we jump into the blog post, I just want to recap what KL divergence in a broad manner. If you want to have like a good step-by-step example of like what KL divergence is, how does it differ from cross entropy, and what's like the numerical differences between like the different element, I strongly suggest Serrano Academy. It has a video on this that is super good. But in a nutshell, you have a probability distribution over here, right, for a bunch of output that you can have, and you have a sequence that is the current one, right? And then like from this sequence, it's sampled from some sort of probability distribution, and in this case, this is like a die that has 5 faces, and this one corresponds to this, right? So this one is actually the thing that is producing the sequence. But let's say you didn't know that, and then you have another probability distribution, right? You have another die over there and another die over there, and then with their specific probability distribution, you're asking how different like this sequence is from these. Are they pretty similar or are they pretty different? It's important in our case for reinforcement learning for the PPO and the GRPO because we want to constrain the model so that like it doesn't differ too much from a base model, that a reference model that we're keeping an anchor on, right? That's the whole idea, so that like the parameters are not changing like crazy. It still stay close, right? And then like if the performance is much better, then it has more leeway to move away from the reference model. So this is just to stabilize a bit the reinforcement learning. There's many ways you can calculate these differences with probabilities, right? Just multiply them. The issue with probabilities, the raw one, is that you get like very small numbers. And if you have many of these parameters, you're gonna get like very close to 0, which in some case will literally be 0 and will be difficult to work with. So usually you don't work with raw probabilities, you work with log probabilities. The thing with the logs is that if you take the log of all of this, you can have additions instead. And additions is fantastic. It's a bit faster to calculate than multiplication. Plus, it doesn't, in this specific case with cross entropy, it doesn't go into the problem like very small numbers. It will be like a reasonable number. KL divergence take this a bit further. It's always positive, and then you have it anchor between 0 and like infinity, and it's a measure of the differences between the two things. So here, like one of the way you can think about it is like it's the cross entropy minus the entropy of the first probability distribution, that is the anchor one. And then you can like switch like the cross entropy here, and then you're gonna get this minus that, the entropy, you're gonna get your numbers here, and you can be able to say how different the things are. KL divergence at 0 if like the probability distribution is the same in like both things that you're comparing to. The both probability distribution are exactly similar. The more the number is bigger, the more they are different. So that's in a nutshell, right? There's many ways to write the KL divergence that are valid. The initial version is this one, right? If you have all the x's, and then if you have like the actual probability distribution, this is how you should write it. With cross entropy, it's written like this. So it's very similar to this form, and actually you can recover this form using this. So you have like KL divergence equal to the cross entropy of P and Q, which are the two probability distribution, minus the entropy here. So very, very useful concept in machine learning, because we are gonna handle like parameters that have like probabilities or log probabilities that are stored, that then you can compare against another model. So you can compare like model like this, and here you see an example in this BERT paper where they use KL divergence again over here in some of their formula. So it's pretty widely used. The thing here is that the implementation will differ, and you have to understand a bit the trade-off of all of this. We cannot use the formula directly as is written, right? You cannot go torch distribution and try to use KL divergence directly. It's going to be one, so most of the case impossible. Second, very wasteful, because you don't need to be like that accurate. It's usually a penalty term that you're imposing on your training for your model. So it's fine if like it's not exactly the number that the actual KL divergence will have outputted. A good estimation is good enough here. So this is why you're seeing like these implementation over here versus these ones. There's also a third one, right? But like all of them are valid. Some of them are biased, some have a higher variance. You have just to watch out for these trade-offs. And if you look at the implementation, like we went into a big walkthrough in the previous video, but here it's implemented over here like this in the open source implementation of Hugging Face. And you can see here we have our log probability for the reference, our log probability for the current one, and here we're using an exponent because we have log probabilities so that we can recover the actual probabilities minus 1. So fairly easy to implement. The implementation is not the hard part here. In the paper, they are referencing Schulman, which is not the scientific paper that they're referencing. They're referencing a blog post from the dude. This person is one of the co-founder of OpenAI, right? And pretty important researcher in the field. He was a researcher at Anthropic. So it's in the blog section that we're gonna see is a contribution. In the blog section, there's 3 things in the blog from 2020. And one of them is this thing, which is interesting. So we're gonna go to the blog. It's linked in the description if you want to take a look at it. I just annotated a bit, but he start with like this definition of KL divergence, which is basically the expectation of the sample x from Q of this quantity, right? Log Qx divided by Px, and Q and P are probability distribution. So one thing that he's saying is that usually we're implementing KL divergence just by implementing it on log Q and divide by P on some amount of sampling data that we have, so that we can do this kind of Monte Carlo estimation. That's the implementation that the PPO algorithm is using. So it's log of Q on P. So a good estimator that they're saying is this, right? It is unbiased, right? This one. A bias estimator is a bias if like the expectation of the estimator minus the actual value. If it's not equal to 0, then like it's a bias estimator. In our case, for our estimator, which is log Q on P, if we take the expectation minus QL, it's exactly the same. So if you have enough sample, the two things will be very similar. So here you have to watch out how it is doing the nomenclature, because is defining a variable R, which is a ratio, P on Q, not Q on P. So this means that like log of Q on P will be minus log R. It will just be easier after that to write the rest of the formulas for the unbiased estimator. This is why it's kind of flipped in our implementation in the GRPO. Here, like this is supposed to be P, this is supposed to be Q, this is flipped versus like this implementation in PPO. This one, although is not biased, it has high variance because some of the numbers are going to be negative because of the log. Log of 0 point something will be negative. Well, the actual KL divergence is not negative. It's between 0, like we've seen, and infinity. So if you have that over here, and then for some of the sample, you're going to have like the P being smaller than the Q, then you're going to get something that is between 0 and 1, right? And then log of this will be negative. And then once you're going to look at the variance over here, if you have a negative number minus the actual true KL value, which be between 0 and infinity, you're going to get something that is negative. So it's going to go a bit over there, you square it. So this setup empirically increased the variance of this estimator. So what they're saying here is that you can use something else that is as lower variance. It's biased, but this is kind of better, right? And it's like log of the ratio that we see in P on Q. There's many ways of writing it depending on like the different log properties that you're using. But roughly it's like log of R exponent 2 divided by 2. Like that's kind of how it's set up. So this is biased because the expectation of this quantity minus KL is not equal to 0, because this is supposed to be e to the log of Q on P. Thing that he's saying in this blog post is that empirically, when he tested it out, it's a bit more stable. And like, yes, it's biased, but it's not that biased. And we know when it's going to be more biased. There's a whole section here that I encourage you to read and go on it slowly about this specific estimator being a F divergence. So KL divergence is a F divergence. This one is also F divergence because of the specific form that it's taking, which the form look like this, right? There's a function and there's a P and a Q over there. In these family of function, the F divergence ones, there's specific properties of them. And one of them is that if P and Q are pretty similar, right? Like together, any function, any F divergence function will look like a KL divergence. Like they will look very, very similar than the two. So this is why this specific quantity will have a lower variance, because it's like very close to this. If this thing is set up as P and Q being roughly similar. In the case of reinforcement learning, yes, it will be. And in the specific case in which we are using it, P and the Q should be roughly similar. Remember, here we have our reference parameter set, and then we have our current ones. This one comes from this one, so it should not be like crazy different. So this is where it's at. So now we have two type of function that you could use as an estimator for KL divergence, like the minus log of R, and this specific one, which is the log of R exponent 2 divided by 2. The third one that they did, the K3, which is the one that was used in GRPO, to make it, we're not using the second one, which is biased. We're going to use the first one, which is unbiased but has high variance, and we're going to try to lower the variance. And what they're saying is that one way to lower the variance is with the control variate. In a nutshell, what it is, a control variate, is if you have an unbiased estimator, let's call it M over here, and then you add to it a quantity that has zero expectation, it will not change the expectation, as if it doesn't do anything to this biasness. In this case, let's say you have another estimator, which is T, and it has an expectation of tau, and then we're going to do T minus tau. Technically, this will lead to an expectation of 0, and if you multiply this expectation of 0 by whatever number, doesn't matter, right? So you get this formula of how you can modify with this variate an unbiased estimator, and then have the resulting M star unbiased estimator. If you set this properly, you can reduce the variance while keeping the bias in check In our case, the quantity that we have that is guaranteed to have zero expectation is this one. So this is our t, this is our tau, so we have r minus 1. And like you see here, we have the lambda, which is similar to the c that we just saw. And we can set the c to the lambda to 1, and you should be good to go. If you set the control variable to be inversely correlated to the other thing, you're gonna have something with which lowered the variance. That's one of the property of that control variable if you set it up like this. And by doing this, they're gonna add the log of q on p plus this control variable, which is exactly this term. Remember, r is p on q, right? And here this quantity was log of q on p. But if you switch these two to have like, it will be similar to having minus log of p on q. And this is our ratio r, so it's going to be minus log of r here. And then we have our r over there also, r minus 1. So it's this quantity, this estimator that is unbiased, has high variance of the KL divergence, plus this control variable. So that's our K3. So if we recap, we have r over here. K1 is this one. This is what is being used in PPO. K2 is this. It's not being used in anything PPO or GRPO. Some other implementation, I think the author said that he was using it. This is the thing that we're using in GRPO. So Schulman ran a few experiments here. I'm just going to show you the code. So he did a bunch of simulation. You have P and Q, which are like distribution that are normal with different mean. The standard deviation stay the same. It's just the mean that is changing. And then like he's using this KL divergence, which is the true version of KL divergence from PyTorch over here with the formula that we saw previously. And then we have here or R, which is the log probability that are divided. And this is just using the property of the logarithm to make it nicer to calculate. Here's our K1, K2, and K3 over there. And at this point, there is going to run the simulation on 10 million samples. And with this, with the mean and the standard deviation, they will be able to see how they are different from the true KL divergence. So this is what we have at the top. We have 0 for Q in terms of mean, and P we have a 0.1. So we create kind of this type of differences. The KL divergence to be very small because they're very, very similar. Remember, the KL divergence of 0, exactly the same probability distribution. Big number, very different. In this other case, they're changing the P from 0.1 to 1, so it's shifted, right? Same standard deviation. And in this case, the KL divergence will be of 0.5. If we look at the performance of K1, K2, and K3, K2 has some bias. The other one doesn't have any biases because they're unbiased estimator. And what you see here is that K1 is good, but it has high variance. And K2 has low bias, but still has some bias over here. What this means is that K2 is good enough. It's not something that is outlandish. But this is when the KL divergence is very small. As the KL divergence become very, very big, you can start to see that the bias of K2 start to creep up. Its variance is good still, but the biases start to be kind of significant, right? So this is when we have more and more different probability distribution. In the case of K3, it's still good. It's still unbiased in both cases, right? Its variance is lesser than K1. And in this case, like the difference is not that insane. But in the first case, it was very, very significant. So we are concluding here by saying like K3 is the better estimator that you should be choosing. The important point is when you get at this level, it's all about trade-off. If you read a formula like this and you're confused about why it's like that, the actual reasoning could be, when you get to the bottom of it, a bit blurry. In this case, with the few tests that Schulman did, it really looked like K3 is strictly better than all of the other metrics that you could have chosen. Who knows, maybe K2 will have been just as good, or K1 will have been just as good without like this increase in complexity in the formula. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment if you have any question. I'm here to help. Have a great week, everyone, and see you in the next video.